The Accidental Entrepreneur is produced by Beinhacker Law and brought to you through our affiliate relationships with the following sponsors. One of One Productions, the New Jersey-based podcast studio that produces and edits both audio and video podcasts. They sell equipment for the average podcaster and have even created a guesting kit exclusively for our listeners. North Authentic, the conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. The Healthy Place, the e-commerce site with thousands of supplements to help you live a healthier life, along with natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
Exactly. And I think actually there's a couple things in there that you just said that are super important to call out. Like a lot of people just set up a website just to have a website.
Like Wix.
And then they set up exactly.
Yeah.
And then they set up a mailing list and they're like, click here to subscribe to my newsletter.
And nobody does.
Right. But it's like, you haven't really told me why I want to subscribe to your newsletter.
You're not giving them anything. No value.
Like, what's the point? If I don't want to, like Joe's coffee shop down the road, I don't need to subscribe to your newsletter. Like,
right. Of course.
I need coffee,
I'll go to your shop.
Exactly. Like, this attorney next door to me, why am I going to subscribe? I know a million attorneys in the way. This real estate agent, why do I need to, I can just call like Google real estate agent.
Yeah, I don't want more things in my inbox.
Exactly. So you need to be able to like provide value as to why you want these people to know who you are and why you are the expert for that person.
Right.
More than anything else. And you have to make sure to do so in an authentic way, because I feel like a lot of times these other small business owners also feel like they need to copy whatever everyone else is doing.
Right.
I actually see it a lot with real estate agents because my family is in a real estate business too. So they, I do a lot of work with them.
Marketing. It's all
exactly. It's all driven by marketing. And a lot of times it's all word of mouth too. So
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work. And they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Callahan. I'm a marketing, advertising, and creative strategist. And I help small businesses kind of get off the ground and do some marketing strategy for them. And I'm the host of the Drinks After Work podcast, coming out with a season 2 coming soon.
All right, Tiffany. So welcome to my show, I guess.
Yay,
we're going to talk about your show. Yeah, exactly. Now, I was thinking, and I always do this, who connected us? Somebody through the Chamber of Commerce or somebody in town, right?
No, Mike Hamm actually connected us through Mike, because I was on his show.
Right. So he's the morning spotlight, right?
Yes, the morning spotlight. Yeah.
Got it. I think I saw your episode or listened to your episode on Mike's podcast, and then I realized we're basically in the same town.
We're basically neighbors. Yeah.
Right. And the Chamber, which I'm going to make you get involved with.
I know. I need to.
Yeah. Come out of hibernation. This. Yeah.
Yes.
Is Mountainside, Garwood, Westfield, Scotch Plains, and Fanwood. And you've lived in more of those towns than I have.
Yeah. Most of those towns.
Exactly. So I'm in Westfield. So cool. So I want to talk today. Well, first, I want to kind of tell your story. Your background and how you got to where you're doing. And, because I know you work for a lot of Fortune 100 companies and all that stuff. And then we could talk about like strategies for small business owners, because I think it's like an ongoing argument about what you should, and we know what they should do, but they're still arguing about it. And then I would definitely want to talk about your podcast and the new season that's coming out. So let's go back to the cabin that you were born in.
The cabin that I was born in.
Exactly.
It was almost a literal cabin. No. I went to school for marketing. I loved it. And when I went to Seton Hall, so local.
Go Pirates. Yeah.
Yes, go Pirates. And when I was there, I had an internship in advertising at a very small boutique firm. Okay. It was literally me as the intern, the creative director who did literally all the graphics, and the owner who was the account person that managed all the accounts. So it was the three of us. Nice. And it was awesome because I got to really fully understand like a 360-degree view of what an advertising agency does. And that like instantly sparked my love for advertising. And so when I graduated, I got a job in the big city in New York, doing advertising account management. And
for an agency,
I loved it
or in
for an
a
agency.
Company? For an agency.
No, for an agency. Yeah. So I worked at an agency for a little while. And then I had the opportunity to switch sides and go client side. And that's when I worked for Verizon.
In-house, basically.
In-house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there, the way that the company was structured, it's such a huge, gigantic corporation.
You said Verizon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Of course.
That I was able to kind of hop from job to job there every year, basically. So I had the ability to be able to like get a vast, like wide array of experience. I started doing digital marketing, then I did retail marketing, then I did above the line, which is like TV and radio. And I did like basically at any type of marketing facet that you could do, I was able to do.
Now at the corp, at that big of a level, right?
Yeah.
Is marketing and advertising, do they overlap a lot more than they do? Because when I think of like advertising versus marketing for a small business owner, I think of advertising like you buy space on a billboard or on a cable channel, and that's your advertising. But marketing is more like organic stuff. You're putting out information, you're appearing on a podcast. Is that true, or am I totally off?
No, not necessarily. I like to think of advertising as the more creative side of it, and marketing is the more strategic side of it, if that makes sense. Okay. So advertising is, you're developing what the creative looks like, what the brand looks like, how the brand represents itself in the world. Marketing is everything in the back end of like, okay, you need to understand the customer holistically. You really want to be able to talk about their life cycle journey with you. You want to look at the data and understand, okay, this piece of creative, this piece of advertising is performing better than this one. Why? Is it because of the location that it is? Is it because it's blue versus red? Right. And so all of those things kind of go into marketing, and you market the advertisements. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. So it's similar when you're on a smaller scale. It's just, right?
It is similar when you're on a smaller scale. You do have to have kind of all of it, knowledge of all of it to be able to effectively do it. But don't worry, you don't have to have all that much knowledge. For those small business owners that are listening that are like, oh, I don't have backgrounds.
I need a budget for advertising. No. Right?
Well, you do need a budget, but it's not too big.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah. So go back to Verizon. So you're at Verizon and.
Yeah. So basically I was able to do, like I said, all those like kind of different aspects of it. And I had the opportunity to leave there once I kind of did basically everything that there was to do. Yeah. I was looking at it and I was like, you know what, I want to look into what it feels like to work for a smaller company, because I miss that. Remember in the beginning, when I worked for the advertising firm, when I interned it was so tiny. I was able to do so much. And here it was such a big corporation. I had layers and layers and layers of people that I had to work with. So I wanted to really understand what it felt like to kind of work in that small environment again. So I switched careers. I worked then at a small startup, and I was running the marketing department for them in the US.
Okay. This was what year? This was last year. All the way up
through
the pandemic?
Yes, during the pandemic. It was a remote
time to switch jobs.
Oh, yeah. A wonderful time to switch jobs. I actually started there during the pandemic, and it was a UK based company. Okay. And they were starting efforts here in the US. So it was going to be 100% remote regardless. So that was, fine, but it was kind of funny, like working the UK hours and
sure. Right?
having like to,
were they 5-6 hours ahead of us or something?
Yeah. And I would work like not their entire hours. I would work a little bit on my shift, and they would work a little bit earlier too to kind of compensate. But it was really weird. And listening to people, like I got so used to the British accent that like when I heard an American accent, I was like, where are you from?
Yeah. I have friends in London. Funny. I do a group on Fridays and sometimes I can't understand them.
Yeah. And it depends on where they're from too. Like some people have much, much thicker accents. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to slow it down. Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know. Okay. That's cool. So you basically started their operation here or was involved with the start of their operation?
Yeah, they had started a little bit but obviously it was someone in the UK that was starting it. So they needed someone here. So I started working on that and building up their presence here. Yeah. And it's funny because not having someone boots on the ground in the location where you're actually marketing is so difficult because
of course,
especially
if you don't know the culture.
Exactly. And they were looking at billboards, like they wanted to advertise in New York City and they were looking at like just billboards in
like
general
Times
areas.
Square, right?
Like, I was like, what? Yeah, that's a good idea. But like, you're going to spend a lot of money for not a lot of return. Like you could look at this area instead, because this is where your target audience is. And they were like, oh, wow, really? Right. So, being able to like really be here and understand the dynamic of the people that are here and how they're interacting with that product.
That's huge. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like if you and I tried to do business in Alabama from New Jersey, we wouldn't even know. It's like another world.
Well, that's actually the reason I decided to leave that company, that startup, because I'm no longer there. But they started to expand. Like once we got the New York operation up and running, they started to expand elsewhere. And
in the country?
In the country. And they wanted to go to Chicago, Illinois, some other places in the Midwest too. And I was like, listen, I am fully supportive. I can help as much as I can, but like, I really think that you need to get someone there to be able to do the work there. Like I did here in New York.
Yeah.
And I took that as an opportunity to shift and go back to the agency. So now I'm working at another.
So you didn't stay on and said, listen, I'll be your tri-state person, and then you get somebody in Chicago, and you just said,
no, because I feel like the nature of what I wanted to do, I accomplished what I set out to do there. I started it running. I kind of put all the systems in place and I gave them all the tools that they needed. And I was like, you have everything that you need, but now I'm just going to be here to optimize, but that's not really what I want to do.
Right. You like the creative part of it, right?
Yeah, I do like the creative part. And I wasn't.
Now, what did they do? What you don't tell me the name of the company, but what did they do?
They did insurance for rideshare drivers. So
very
so they were
niche. Selling a product, right?
They were selling a product. Yeah. So it was interesting and fun for the time being. And then I was just like, you know what? I want a different challenge again. So now I'm back in advertising.
Nice. You were a superhero. You're like, I'm done here. And then I'm done. Off here to you go. Next. Exactly. That's funny.
You have what you need.
So are you with a New York based firm and you're just working remotely from Jersey?
Yep, I am.
Okay. I guess it's good. In your industry, you can just pop around. It's not that easy for everybody.
I know it's not that easy for everyone, but for me, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I was at Verizon for like over almost 10 years. So I was there for a really long time. I was able to work around within the company, but I did stay there for a very long time. And then since then, it's just been these two different companies. But
you basically changed your job twice during the pandemic.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Look, if you did that, so that's a whole nother conversation we could have.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it worked out, actually, but it was crazy then.
I also did a little stint of being a studio manager for SoulCycle in between then too. So that was interesting as well.
Is there a SoulCycle nearby? Is there
in Shore Hills? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're like
I managed that studio for a little while.
On location. What's the bike that you get at home?
The Peloton.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They're like, because I think I saw him. So I listened to Guy Raz, How I Built This, the podcast. Yep. Mm-hmm. So he used to he doesn't do them now, but I guess he'll do them again, on location type of stuff. And you would go get tickets. So a buddy of mine and me, we went to like the Civic Center in Tribeca. And the interview was with this guy, John, I think his name is, who started Peloton. He was talking about the whole thing. And they had a deal with either SoulCycle with the other one, like Flywheel is the other one, I think. Yep. And they had a deal to do this with them. And like they pulled out last minute.
Oh my gosh.
And left him hanging. And then he continued to raise money. And obviously they're doing okay.
Hey,
but
I've got a Peloton here, so I love it.
Yeah, exactly. But
he did great.
It's funny, SoulCycle. So I didn't realize that there's one in Short Hills. I think of them all like in New York City, Chicago, Miami, not like suburbs.
Yeah. Well, I think we're one of the only ones. I'm not, yeah, don't quote me on that.
Ironically enough, Peloton started in Jordan Hills Mall. That was their first pop-up.
That's crazy. I did not know that. To
test the idea. And they were like, can we sell one a month? And they sold like one a day or something.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah. He told the whole story.
That's where the SoulCycle is too. So
nice. So you're just managing that, and then you get to use the SoulCycle for free.
Yeah. I mean, I was up until, then
we got a real job.
But then we got closed down because of COVID. And so that's when it really happened.
Right. So are they back opening now?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't gone back though.
Okay. So if we went back to the beginning, you said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my job 2 times. People would be like, you're crazy. What are you talking about, You're
like, why would you ever do that? Like, especially during these crazy times. And I'm like, you know what? Life is short. If anything has been proven to us, it's that life is short.
Yeah, that's
why am I going to spend time doing something that I'm not all that fulfilled doing? And so it's actually also the reason I started my podcast, was because I was like, I need a creative outlet. I need something that I'm going to do and put my heart and soul into, that's mine, and not like working for the man and working for someone else. So that's also why I started doing like that little side project of my podcast. So,
okay. So we'll talk about podcasting. We'll give people suggestions about getting started. Yeah. But let's talk about some of the marketing things that you think that small business owners do, wrong, and maybe some things you've seen them do right. But I think a lot of people I talk to, not necessarily on the podcast, but that I work with as a business attorney, that's one of the things they struggle with. I don't think they really understand. I think they have a rough idea of what marketing should be.
Yeah.
But I don't think they know like how to measure it and how to really, get it going.
And I feel like it's something that gets very overwhelming very quickly for people who don't know very much about it.
Right.
The best thing and the best advice that I give to anyone that I talk to, small business or not, is think about the life cycle of your customer. And I keep coming back to that because it depends on what you want to get out of the customers that you want to reach. Okay. Obviously, at the end of the day, everyone wants sales, or everyone wants to be able to have that. Too broad, right? Exactly. Yeah. So, think about the opportunity that you have. Okay, you want to get your name out there. You have to use certain avenues to be able to get your name out there. Do you want people to know what you sell? Then you have to use different avenues to be able to understand like what it is that you sell. Do you want to be able to get referrals? That's a different type of thing. So it really depends on what you want to do with your company and with your business. And then you think about the tactics, and then you think about the message that you want to get out there. You can't have the same message in every single platform because that's not going to work. Right. So you just want to make sure that you talk to people. And obviously some methods aren't going to work for some people, right. If you think about like, if you're a clothing company, for example, and you are marketing towards, marketing towards moms buying baby onesies for your baby.
Okay.
You're probably not going to necessarily show up on Twitter because I don't know all that moms are on Twitter. Exactly. Right. Maybe there are some, or LinkedIn. Exactly. Right. But you probably do want to show up on Instagram or TikTok, even depending on the age range of the people that you want to show up with.
Yeah.
Probably Instagram for that one more than TikTok. But if you are a coffee shop, then you're going to want to show up more in the local news. So that maybe you're going to go to Facebook for that one, because that one is more hyper targeted, and the people in the area have like the little niche communities. Exactly. Yeah. So it really depends on what product it is that you have, the target market that you have that you're going after, and where you want to show up to. So you have to think about it holistically and not just think about it like, okay, I have a new business. Let me plaster my name all out there and spend $1 million on billboards and stuff that are not really going to drive revenue.
Right. Well, I also find, and I guess it all comes back to having like a good website and interacting with all these types of, a lot of people and lawyers are very guilty of this, right? They have they might as well not even have a website. I mean, it's just like a billboard. I actually don't think a
website is important.
Yeah,
I don't think a website is important.
I hear all kinds of different opinions about it, but I know that if you have a website and it doesn't kind of, interact with all the things, or maybe it's a landing page or whatever. I'm just using that loosely, right? So you're out there on social media and you want to capture somebody, get them on your mailing list, interact with them, get them to follow you, whatever. I find that a lot of people, they miss that portion of, like, they don't have a landing page. It's not a little funnel, so to speak, or it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't call them to action or anything.
Exactly. And I think actually there's a couple things in there that you just said that are super important to call out. Like a lot of people just set up a website just to have a website.
Like Wix,
and then they set up
done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they set up a mailing list and they're like, click here to subscribe to my newsletter.
And nobody does.
Right. But it's like, you haven't really told me why I want to subscribe to your newsletter.
You're not giving them anything. No value.
Like, what's the point? If I don't want to, like, Joe's coffee shop down the road, I don't need to subscribe to your newsletter. Like,
right. Of course. I need coffee. I'll go to your shop.
Exactly. Like, this attorney next door to me, why am I going to subscribe? I know a million attorneys in the way. This real estate agent, why do I need to, I can just call, like, Google real estate agent.
Yeah, I don't want more things in my inbox.
Exactly. So you need to be able to, like, provide value as to why you want these people to know who you are and why you are the expert for that person.
Right.
More than anything else. And you have to make sure to do so in an authentic way, because I feel like a lot of times these other small business owners also feel like they need to copy whatever everyone else is doing.
Right.
I actually see it a lot with real estate agents, because my family is in a real estate business too. So they, I do a lot of work with them.
Marketing. It's all
exactly.
Driven by marketing,
it's all driven by marketing, and a lot of times it's all word of mouth too. So I have two different people. One is very, very, very hyper focused on everything in social media, and one is like, I don't want to ever show up on social media. Like, I don't need it.
Word of mouth referrals, things like that.
Yeah, and like, or he does other things. He does agents? Like, they're both real estate agents. They're both very successful, and it's just a matter of their personality.
Right.
One of them, she's a social person. She shows up and she's like she's always on Instagram, always on TikTok. She's very authentic. And
it comes through, right? On that,
it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense for her, because that's the way that she communicates. For him, he tried that. He failed miserably. He's like, why am I trying?
It didn't fit with him, right?
Exactly. It's not his. It's not his forte. So instead, we figured out that, like, for him, I'm helping him design some flyers, design some mailers, design some like billboards for him in some locations, and like really those more above the line tactics is what I like to call them. They're more consumer facing as opposed to the digital ones. Yeah. And that's the way that he gets all of his leads. So it really depends on the person. It depends on what you want, and it depends on the type of person you want to attract too.
Well, that's important too. But I also think that I think it's really important to do things that you're like comfortable with and that resonates with you, because if not, people are just going to see right through you. Like somebody, I had dinner with a friend of mine last night, and he's like, well, you should be on TikTok. I'm like, TikTok? Like what?
Like,
first of all, I don't even know how to get on TikTok. I'm like, what's their website? He's like, there is no website. It's an app. I'm like, well, then I got to record it through my phone. Yeah. So it just doesn't. Now, should I be on TikTok? Maybe. I have colleagues of mine. I have a friend who's in Florida. She's a family lawyer, and she's got all these little vignettes on TikTok. I guess her son knows it, helping her, whatever. And she's getting a lot of play, a lot of action from it, but she's not going to do a podcast. I like doing podcasts,
Exactly. And I think that's exactly what it comes down to. So just because something is new and shiny doesn't mean that everyone needs to go and do it at the same time, because there's a reason certain people are succeeding and there's a reason certain people aren't. And it's because it's just not authentic to them. And it doesn't resonate with who they're trying to be. There's a million other things out there that you can do. Podcasting is one of them that seems to be successful for you, which is great. Yeah. TikTok might not be. So why are you going to try and spend all your time making these funny little videos just to resonate
like
with
an
someone?
Idiot? I mean, that's the way I look at it, And
to be honest, your target market might not be on TikTok. So
I don't know if it is. I don't think it is. I work with small business owners. Are they on TikTok? I don't think so.
I mean, maybe, but it depends on the small business owner. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, I've always felt like, if there's something that you're going to do, first of all, I think if you're not comfortable with it, if it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to stick with it anyway. So you're going to do it 3 times and say, well, that didn't work. And you're like, well, 3 times. You know how long the podcast took to start slowly bringing in leads and connect me? Probably 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it was still slow then. It wasn't until like probably this past fall when I was at 180 episodes or something and had been doing it for 2 or 3 years, that, I get leads or contacts from people all the time, and they're not even sure how they found me or got referred, but it's all kind of connected, right? You kind of want things to kind of integrate, but I think that's like where people really fall apart with marketing, is that they choose something that, like you said, they think they should be on TikTok because somebody told them that's where you need to be, and they hate it.
Yeah.
They hate it, or they're afraid of it or whatever. Yeah.
Or they try too hard to it too. Like, yes, I do think that like having some sort of social media presence is important, because that's the best way to exactly. You do have to be out there and, just sitting
like
in your
being
home.
involved in your local community, right? You got to be involved. Exactly. You're a business person. People aren't going to know who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I do think it is important. But it really, you have to think about how you want to be viewed and how you also like viewing content. Like, for me, for example, I love doing reels because I like watching reels on Instagram. But when TikTok started,
reels is like the video.
Reels is
story.
the TikTok for Instagram, if that makes sense.
It's what came out because of TikTok.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know what it is. Like I've heard the term, but
it's
I'm like
the short form video on Instagram.
Okay.
And so when that came out, I was excited about it because that's what I like to view as a viewer. So for me, that was very successful. But for, this person, Joe, he probably doesn't watch reels, doesn't watch TikTok. He's like strict Twitter guy, for example.
Right.
Maybe he needs to be on Twitter and tweeting like, one-liners or one important thing of what his business does. And that might help get his brand more well-known than being on Instagram, for example.
Yeah.
He'll
really just find it just laborious to do the TikTok. He's got to do the video. I was doing videos for my old firm for a while. I think they were boring too, but so it was so labor intensive. I was coming in on Saturdays and Sundays. I was wearing a suit, or at least the top of a suit. I was setting up the thing and making little scripts, and it was just too much for me. I couldn't, so I think you got to do things that are like, what's the word? You're able to sustain without it totally intruding on your life. And
actually, like burnout is something that I was actually just talking to a friend of mine about too. I feel like, especially in today's society, because everything is so remote, like post COVID or during COVID or whatever you want to call it, whatever we're in right now.
Right.
Because everything is so tangible digitally, we tend to overcommit ourselves even more so than we did before the pandemic. And now that everything is opening up, we're adding in layers and layers and layers on top of that. And we're like trying to kind of overcompensate for the time that we didn't connect with anyone or the time we didn't do anything for however long it was.
Yeah.
So people nowadays are getting even more burnt out than they were before COVID or during COVID. And so I think it's something that everyone needs to kind of be cautious of. Like, just because now we're opening up again and now we're doing more things and now you're able to do more doesn't mean you have to.
You just still need to pace yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even I think as a small business owner, especially, that's something that gets, it's easy to overlook because you're like, I need to do all the things because if I'm not doing them, that directly affects my bottom line and directly affects the revenue that I bring in.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like if you end up hitting a wall and like you will crash and burn and then it'll be worse. Exactly. So
of course,
you need to like kind of protect yourself, protect your peace, protect your creativity too, because, obviously as a small business owner, you do need to be creative. You need to
usually they want to, that's why they avoid all the financial stuff. Then nobody likes that.
Well,
they
that's
want
true.
to do the creative stuff. We're all right brain entrepreneurs, Yeah.
You got to find someone who's left brain to kind of work with you on that.
You need a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I find that people, if they don't do things, regularly, right? We know that's important, but that they could and sometimes it takes a little education, but they can automate some things.
Yes.
So they don't have to be so overwhelmed and it doesn't have to happen. I was talking to somebody else the other day and they're like, yeah, we have a marketing person. It was a lawyer. We have a marketing person now. And we try to put on, social media like every day and whatever. And I go, every day you're posting things? I mean, I was doing 2 episodes a week for the podcast because I had so many episodes because for 10 months, I had no clients. They're all in hiding,
Yep.
But then I got to the point where I said, oh my God, this is too much. Now we do Fridays only, which is still a lot. There was a time when I was doing once a month, but I said, listen, you're not gonna be able to maintain that pace.
Exactly.
Because you need content all the time. And what are you doing? So
exactly. And that's actually something, especially for small business owners who are trying to show up on Instagram or on social media, they run out of content ideas super quickly because they try, like everyone hears about the algorithm saying like, you need to post every day, you need to show up every day, you need to do this, you need to do that. My response is no, you don't.
Right. Just ignore that.
Especially, you need to show up however often it makes sense for you to show up.
Right.
If that is every day, maybe it's a matter of like, I keep going back to the coffee shop owner, for example, but maybe it's a fact of like you literally showing like you're physically there every day at your coffee shop.
Right.
Show yourself opening
people
up.
come into your shop every day. People
Exactly.
don't call their lawyer every day.
Do like a picture of one of your coffees every day. That's
the new
fine.
Special roast of the day or whatever
Exactly.
it is. Yeah. Right.
If
That's
you're
different.
a lawyer, for example, maybe you want to show up twice a week and you'd give like a quick tip on a Tuesday of something that pertains to whatever it is that you're doing. And then maybe on a Thursday or a Friday, you show up and you do like give a glimpse into who you are as a person, because I do think that is also very important.
Yeah.
A lot of small business owners
That's
don't
good to say. I was doing like a 15-minute legal update every Thursday morning. And well, first I started the pandemic and I was like, oh, I'll do this for like 6 weeks. And then, everything will be back to normal and we'll be back in our offices and the world will be good. And then I realized I better put a shirt on because I'm in my underwear and it was not changing. Right. So then, but it got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I was getting so stressed every Thursday morning about what the hell am I going to say today? Like at the beginning, it was easy. Mm-hmm. I had a lot to say, but after 8 weeks, 10 weeks, I don't know.
Well, and here's something that I also
advice
tell
from Tiffany. So this is good.
Big advice.
Okay.
Repost things. Say things.
I should do that. I should repost now. I have all these videos. They're sitting there in my YouTube thing. That's why I should get it going again. Maybe once a month.
There's no need. People forget. People have a very short attention span and a very short memory. Yeah. They don't remember. Right. And actually repetition is a good thing when it comes to people's memories.
The only problem is every video says it's Thursday, March.
Edit that out. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I can't even edit videos. That's why I put them up on YouTube raw, because I don't like audio's easy. The video, you get the video, you get the audio, you get this, that. It's just like a nightmare. I don't know.
See, you outsource someone one time, you find someone on Fiverr or something like that to cut down all those videos and
Upwork, right? All those websites.
And that's the thing. Like you just have to, talking about marketing spend too, or spend in general, understand like you don't necessarily need to hire someone to do all your marketing right away. You can hire someone as a freelancer to help you set up a couple systems and give you some tools and tips that you need to be able to do it on your own, and then send them off on their way. That's not a big expense right away. It might seem like a little bit more upfront, but think about it in terms of the long term. They're giving you the tools that you need to be able to do it.
You don't need a monthly budget forever.
Exactly.
Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to get into podcasting? Maybe to market your business for your own enjoyment, or because you have a message you want to get out there. One of One Productions is a New Jersey-based studio just over the George Washington Bridge that caters to the booming business of podcasting. They offer a comfortable atmosphere using the latest technology available to record your podcast. And they are a full-service media company offering both audio and video production services, creating both audio and video podcasts as well as video shorts for business and personal use. Professional audio equipment packages are available through their website for all budgets. And be sure to check out their podcast guesting kit, created specially for our listeners. Care for your health, care for the planet, and look flippin' great doing it. North Authentic is a conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. Their pro stylists curate only the most fabulous non-toxic hair products with better-for-you shampoos, serums, masks, and more that actually give you gorgeous hair without hurting your health or the planet. Hey, you've only got one life, one planet, and one glorious mane. Might as well treat them all as best you can, right? Try a 100% clean hair care routine prescribed just for you using their link in the show notes. If you don't see a big, beautiful difference in how your hair looks and feels, you can tell them they're crazy. Do you battle chronic pain, stress, anxiety, or depression? Well, if you take any supplements or you're interested in natural alternatives, you need to know about findyourhealthyplace.com. Find Your Healthy Place has thousands of supplements to help you live a better quality of life, as well as natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. Need guidance? Use their live chat feature and talk to a wellness consultant right on their website. And be sure to use our coupon code TAEPodcast for all your purchases to get the best prices at findyourhealthyplace.com. Follow their links in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely scares a lot of people away. They think,
or like if you can't design a logo, or if you can't do, create a postcard and you want to send out these postcards, hire someone to do it. Look up on Fiverr. There's a million other websites out there that are able to do it.
Isn't there a website where you can do like a logo contest and offer like, I don't know, $150 and then they all submit it and they make a little bit of money? And,
yeah. There's a ton of those. The one I'm thinking of is Behance, but there's a ton of them that are out there that are able to do that. And you pick the winner and you give them a little bit of credit for doing it, but ultimately you get something for cheap that would have cost you $1 million or would have spent so much time to be able to do on your own. You know, don't think of what you're good at and stick to what you're good at and outsource the rest of the stuff if you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Or lean into friends and family or friends of friends, you know, like that's the other important thing to do.
Right.
Use your network.
Well, I think that the really successful business owners that I know, the good startups and the entrepreneurs, they are always asking their friends, they're asking their customers, they're constantly, you know, what do you think of that ad? What do you think of this? What would you think of, you know, why did you buy this product? You know, well, I saw you on this, or, well, I liked what you had to say about that. And they don't believe what their opinion is. Like they know they're going to be wrong. Like if people are doing it for this reason, probably they're wrong.
Yeah.
Even though it's working, because when it stops working, then you don't know why it stopped working.
Right.
It happens all the time, right? You're doing Google something or other, and all of a sudden leads dry up and nobody can figure out why the hell that's going on. Right.
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand and tap into your existing community too. Your existing network base.
Right.
If you have people that are already buying, whether it's a product or service from you, ask them not only how they heard about you, but also how they consume the information that you are giving them too. Like, as a lawyer,
where did they see it or whatever? Or
say like, do you think that it would be valuable if I gave you a newsletter with like these legal tips for small business owners?
Yeah.
And if the people because they're already coming to you, so presumably they like your services, you know, like otherwise they wouldn't be coming to you.
Right.
So because of that, like, hey, do you want me to continue doing this? Like, I'm already doing a newsletter. Let's just say I'm already doing a newsletter. Is this providing any value to you? Like, do you read it or do you just kind of auto delete it whenever it comes in? Because that's another thing. People do all these things and they create newsletters and they post blogs on their website and stuff like that. And they're like,
they think that's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. And then when they actually ask people or when they actually look into the data, no one's viewing it or no one's getting any value out of it. So they're like, you know what? Why am I continuing to put all my effort into this when I could start a podcast or I could do something on social media or I could start TikTok dancing while I'm giving away law advice.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's like to remind them that you're there. So if they're not reading your newsletter, what's the point? You're putting in all that effort to create that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's daunting. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure we'll bounce around. Yeah, go ahead.
So just going back really quickly. Yeah. Another important thing that I want to make sure. We got a lot of time. Well, yeah. But another important thing I want to make sure that people know is just because you do have a small business, you are also a person. And so especially when you think about the way you show up on social media, don't just show up as your small business, because I think it's important for people to see and connect with the person and the life you are outside of that.
Right.
As a lawyer, you're not just a lawyer. You have you have hobbies and interests. You do things outside of the law office as well.
Right.
And someone might see your person. Right, exactly. And someone might see your content and be kind of turned off by all of the law stuff, but they don't know that, like, let's say you like basketball, for example. They don't know that you like basketball, or once they see you connecting or playing basketball or watching a basketball game and posting about it, then they're like, hey, I like that team too. Let me talk to you about this. Oh, by the way, I have this other law thing that I do. That's a much more organic way of showing up on social media than just posting about whatever it is that you have to sell. Yeah. So that's another thing that a lot of people kind of forget. It's like, show the behind the scenes, show the person that you are. This one girl, I use her as an example all the time because it was very interesting. I was able to connect with her when she just started out like a small little Etsy shop selling like stickers, I think it was. Okay. And now she had like maybe 150 followers on Instagram. Right. Now she has well over 100,000 followers. Yeah. Well over.
But it took a while, right?
No, it didn't.
No? She got viral or something?
Yeah. Well, for her, it took like, I want to say like 6 to 8 months. Now, granted, I'm not going to say that this happens for everyone, but it does happen pretty frequently. But the reason is because she showed up every morning. She'd like showed up on Instagram stories. Hey, good morning, guys. I'm going to start my day with my workout. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to talk to you guys later about what it is that I'm selling. And then she showed herself actually packaging the stickers, creating them. She showed the behind the scenes of all the work that went into it. And that turned into people connecting with her because they worked out in the morning as well. Or they liked the way that she designed the logos or the stickers. They liked, knowing how she was able to go from her house to the post office to mail the things, and chit-chatting with the post office lady, and knowing that like on Sundays she went to church with her mom, like all this stuff that they got to learn about her just because she started sharing a little bit more than here's a sticker that I'm selling. Here's this sticker that I'm selling. Here's this sticker that I'm selling. Yeah. And now she's turned that into like this major boutique. She sells all these clothing and all these accessories, and it's really exciting for her. But it probably was like this and then ramped up. It wasn't like she got 10,000 a month. No, from the not get-go. At all. Not at all. Right. It was like 100. Maybe the next day it was 100, or the next month it was 150. Maybe the next month it was back down to 100, because that's also the reality is growth is not linear. Right. Exactly. Like every day. I, for example, haven't posted a whole lot in the past couple of months because I've been between seasons. Right. And I finally go back online. So obviously, like, when you don't post, your growth is steady. Static, people don't. Yeah. So I finally start posting. I like lose 5 or 6 followers, but hey, it happens. Right. Exactly. Like, why am I going to let that stop me? Because now I know that I'm going to have other people that are going to come in, and I'm going to get more followers after that, or more people that are going to be interested in my content after the fact. Right. I just have to consistency factor is the other thing. Yeah, definitely. I think people though forget that maybe there's some things that they like. There's some things I would never comment on or post about, because I have people that are, I have conservative clients and I have liberal clients. Of course. Yes, absolutely. And I have had attorney friends. Some of them have worked for me, where I'm like, we got to close your account. Like you start in these like Twitter wars or these tweets, or you're, going back and forth on Facebook Messenger, and you're like it's affecting your business. Yeah. In a bad way. It's a balance. It's definitely a balance. You need to find that balance. You absolutely need to. Me, for example, like I mean, you can see him in the background, but you can't really see up close. I have a son. I tell people I have a son, but I don't really share all that much about him, because for me, that's like my choice. That's my family, whatever. Right. I also have political views that I don't share publicly, because I don't feel the need to involve other people. It's a very divisive topic. Yeah. Now there's certain people that feel they want to share that kind of stuff. And if it works for your business, then by all means share what you want to share. But you're only looking to do business with people like that. Exactly. Exactly. Like there is a limit. So understand the balance of sharing. There's also a difference between personal and private too. Something that I get into with some of the people that I work with. You can share some of your personal life, but you don't have to share your private life with them. Yeah, good point. So, I think people, though, their brain doesn't function when they get pissed off about something and they're out there spewing about it. And then they, they don't realize that it's all those other people aren't going to do business with you anymore. It's true. Which is fine if that's what you want. If that's what you want. Yeah. Just understand that and know. And it doesn't have to be political views that turn you off and turn people off from you. All kinds of stuff, right? It could be all kinds of stuff. It could very well be like you're posting that you work out at CrossFit, and someone could be like totally against CrossFit and not like him, for example. Right. But you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Or you like meat. People are vegan. Exactly. People are vegan. So exactly. You're posting pictures of meat. Exactly. People like to I post pictures of wine. My podcast is called Drinks After Work. I turn off a lot of people who don't like alcohol. So yeah. That's not really your audience, right? Exactly. Like, think about who it is that you want to attract and you want to work with. And if that aligns with what the content is that you're putting out there, great. If not, then maybe think about holding that side of your life back a little bit. Right. Right. Just hold back a little bit. Have some restraint. That's what I would say to people. Don't get in an argument with that guy. He's an idiot and you look stupid because you're arguing with him. I couldn't help myself. Okay. Well, okay. That's a bigger problem. Exactly. So let's talk about your podcast and kind of where it came from and the whole, genesis of it. And then like who you've interviewed and things you've learned from them. Because yours is all about like marketing, right? Talking to business owners about marketing. Yes. So, and I'm actually shifting that a little bit too, but we'll get there.
Because I don't have seasons. I just keep putting out episodes, and you do. So,
well, yeah, I'm starting to do seasons because I learned the hard way that I could not keep up, going back to like overcommitting yourself.
Exhausted,
yeah, exactly. I was like, you know what, I'm going to pause and I'm going to break this season up and do a second season now coming up. Is what I'm calling it, at least.
Right.
So it started because, I mean, if you think back to pre-pandemic times, you would clock out of work. You would have a crazy busy day at work. And before you got home and like started doing the whole home thing, you wanted to kind of unwind. And so you would go to your coworker that's sitting next to you, or, you know, a couple cubes down from you, be like, hey, you want to go get a drink after work? Let's go to the bar across the street. Let's de-stress. Let's talk about, you know, our lives. And then we'll go home after this. That's kind of the concept that I wanted to bring into it. Because a lot of times those types of conversations that I would have specifically with my friends and my coworkers would turn into like these interesting, like deep conversations about, you know, stuff going on in the world and about things going on in marketing and about how like they like their roles, or, you know, what happened to their bosses, or some projects that they're working on that are really cool and interesting. And so I wanted to take that concept and bring it virtually, because obviously at the time when I first started it, we weren't having in-person conversations at all.
This was during the pandemic, right?
This is during the pandemic. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it started out as. And I started out just interviewing people in the marketing and creative field.
Okay.
And really understanding like what it is that they're doing, how they got started in that field, because I think that that's really interesting too. Some people, they know their whole lives that they're going to be a creative person and they're going to be like an art director, or they're going to be a photographer. And some people kind of stumbled into it. And just because they happened to be at the right place at the right time and someone gave them an opportunity, they were like, you know what, this actually sounds really interesting. So let me do it.
Yeah.
There's a need. Like there's a friend of mine who, he started out as a photographer and now he's doing video and he's doing graphics and he's doing 3D and all this stuff. And it's just because there was a need, and he was like, let me try. And because of that, he's now developed into that, something completely different. So
you hear noise in the background. I think they're doing construction in the bathroom behind us.
Oh, I actually don't hear anything. So
you don't hear anything? Perfect.
No.
Okay. It's a loud noise. Only I can hear it. That's good.
Yeah. That's fine.
So I have good equipment.
Put my dog to sleep. Yeah, you do. My dog used to bark during all my podcast episodes. That was a fun thing. She's good now.
You didn't literally put her to sleep.
No. She's asleep at my feet.
I needed it to be quiet for my podcast, so I killed my dog.
Sorry, guys. Did not kill my dog. No, I mean I can show you her if I tilt the camera down.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
No, meaning like I tired her out before I joined your podcast so that she would be sleeping during it.
That is so funny.
So that she wouldn't bark.
Okay. Oh boy, that's so funny.
Oh man. But yeah, so the types of people I have on there in season 1 is mostly that is all. Like I have someone who's a photographer, someone who is a brand strategist, market researcher. I had, a videographer. I had someone who's an influencer marketing. So what a well-rounded group of people that I had on there, but everyone was tangentially involved in the marketing and creative field.
Right.
And while I think that is where most of my forte and where most of my content is still going to be, especially as we get into more and more seasons.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was thinking about it is there's people out there who are working in regular fields.
Yeah.
Non-marketing fields that are still creative and are still doing creative and marketing things.
Yeah.
So now with season 2, I'm continuing that, but I'm also going to be talking to people like chefs, lawyers, real estate agents, coffee shop owners, small business owners, and really understanding the creative side of what they do.
Yeah.
And having those interesting conversations with people about who they are, how they started, what they're doing, what creative work they do, what marketing they do, and how that all kind of lends itself to one another.
Right.
All
That's
with happy
idea.
Hour style.
Yeah. Get your guests drunk and then you can talk.
Exactly.
Now, if you see any guests that have been on the podcast and you want to connect with them, let me know. They're always excited.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Meet different
and
people.
same thing. do the whole networking thing. I love, that's another huge aspect of why I started the podcast is to develop like this network of people to be able to tap into and be able to like connect one to the other. Right. Because, you know a million people, for example. Right. And not I know a million people. But maybe, well, I know, but I'm maybe just throwing that name out there. You know a lot of people. Right. I know a lot of people. We probably have some people in common, but we probably also know people that have nothing to do with each other.
Of course.
That might end up knowing each other or being able to help each other in some way. So it's the power of connecting people, I think.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So do you remember when you got started? Like, because people always ask me this.
How?
Yeah. Like, what did you do? Here you are, you're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to do a podcast, and you have no idea except you could listen to them on your phone, right?
Correct. So I think we started talking about it before we started recording.
Right.
I originally thought that I wanted to put like marketing content out there via a blog or something like that. And I started doing that and I absolutely hated it. I was like, this is not entertaining at all. Yeah. Right. Exactly. I was like, I don't really want to do this. So then I was like thinking about it, and I like listening to podcasts. Yeah. So why not create one? Right. So I looked into it. I understood that like you needed a host in order to have all your episodes physically go out into the world. And I knew that I needed a microphone. And those are the two things that I figured out. Okay.
So you need a way to record it.
Yeah.
And some way to get it out there. Yeah.
And basically, the microphone that I originally started with was a loaner microphone from my brother, who's a musician.
Okay. Oh, that works.
Yeah. So he was able to give it to me, or give me like a microphone that he wasn't using. So I didn't have to spend any money on that at first. Now I have my microphone that I like better, but that's besides the point.
I had the same thing.
I Googled like free podcast hosting platform. Yeah. And I found this one online that you could record online and that it automatically sends it out to the universe.
Was it Anchor?
Yes.
Yeah. That's I didn't start with Anchor, but yeah.
Well, I started with Anchor for a second, and then I went and was like, well, this is free. This must not be good. So I found one that I paid for a little while, Buzzsprout. And then now I'm like, why am I using this when I actually would get just as much? Now that I know a little bit more about it, I'm like, I'm going to go back to Anchor because I get the same thing out of it than I did with Buzzsprout that I'm paying for. So I might as well use the free service. So
right. So you're still on Anchor.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So it's funny how that works. But I tell people you don't need to overcomplicate it.
Right.
All you need is somewhere to record the episodes on.
Right.
Something to physically record, like a microphone to physically record it, and a platform to be able to press publish.
When you upload it.
Exactly.
And then they'll send it out. Right.
And a good voice. Nice voice also helps.
Yeah. Voice definitely helps. And a good microphone helps your voice. Like when I first started, we were using these crappy USB mics, and I had to clean up the sound. I mean, if you hear the early episodes, definitely you can tell the difference in the sound, but it was the same thing. I didn't know what Anchor was at the time. I really didn't know anybody who podcast. I found Podbean, which I still use, but it was like, okay. And I had partners in those days. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? So I had the microphone, and I told a friend of mine who's recently passed away, unfortunately, to come to my office, and I'm going to interview you. He's like, about what? I was like, I don't know.
So but we're going to figure it out.
Right. So and then we recorded the content. I didn't even have a name for the podcast at the time. So I recorded the content, and then I was like, well, what the hell do I do with it now? Like, how do I edit it? So then I think I use Audacity. So I found Audacity, and then some people use GarageBand on the Mac, so that was free, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was watching videos, and then I had a problem with one of the mics feedback from some. So I'm watching videos as to how to hook this in and whatever. Yep. Finally, I figured it out. Nobody gave me like a really good explanation. And then I was like, well, how do you get it up to these services? Right.
Yeah.
How do you register? And then I think Podbean and a lot of these services are easier now in terms of the feeds. Definitely. But then you had to go onto Apple, and you had to get the RSS
individually register. Yeah,
exactly. Copy it and then put it in the thing. And but I found an article how to do it. So I was like, whatever, but it took a while.
I'm a big proponent of YouTube University.
Yes. YouTube's the best.
And being a student of Hard Knocks, and figuring it out and being strappy and or scrappy and bootstrapping. I mix those two words together. And, basically just hitting the ground. Like if you have a question, 90% of the time, the answer is probably going to be on Google.
I bet you it's 99.
Probably. Yeah. I just didn't want to overcommit.
Right. We don't overcommit. Yeah.
And the other thing is ask people around you that might know something about it too.
Right. Yeah.
Like, for example, I had my brother who knew a little bit about sound, and he was like, all right, well, you don't worry. He honestly was the one that kind of helped me a little bit more to get out of my own head, because I was like, well, I need an intro song, and I need to be able to know how to like mix everything together. And I need to know how to like change the frequencies and understand how to change the sound and change the voices. And he was like, why?
Right.
I was like, I don't know, because that's what podcasters do, right?
Right.
He's like,
I'm a professional.
No. Yeah. He's like, no, you just need to make sure that if you sound relatively okay, it's going to be fine. Just talk into the microphone like you would normally. Don't bother with the sound, and just start until you know that you're going to continue with it. Because that's another thing is people might start a podcast thinking that that's what they want to do, and then realize they hate it and they hate talking to people, or they hate
a lot of podcasts drop off after several episodes. Yeah.
So, but if it's something for you and it's something that you want to, continue with, then after a couple episodes, add music to it, or add an intro, or add or whatever. Exactly. Like it's something that doesn't have to be perfect from the start. You can just start it and you'll figure it out along the way.
It's like any kind of marketing, right? Everybody's waiting for it to be perfect. They never get started, and it's not helping their business.
Exactly. If you wait until it's perfect, you've waited too long.
Right.
You just need to get started and adapt as you grow.
Yeah. Change. It takes a long time to get followers and people to hear it, and for it to get around.
Exactly. And it takes a long time for you to find your voice too. Like when I first started, I literally read
I did too. And I was like, this sounds terrible. I'm not doing this.
My sister was the one, she's like, you sound like you're reading off of something. I was like, I am. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to, I'm talking to a microphone.
You got to get out of your own head. No question. Exactly. I was on a podcast. It was like some success, motivation, something, whatever. I don't even know how he found me. And I always tell the story, but he sent me this list of questions. Like people ask me, like, what are the questions you're going to ask me? I'm like, I don't have a list of questions. We're going to talk. Right. So he sends me these questions, and like an idiot, I'm like, oh yeah, he sent me some sample questions, whatever. I totally didn't even read them. I didn't pay attention to them. I figured we're just going to talk. So I go on the thing. First of all, he had some problems with his eyes. He had some traumatic brain injury years ago. So he starts, he's literally like this. I don't think he recorded the video, which was good. So it's like this, like over here. And then he starts like, rustling his paper. And I realized, oh my God, he's taking out the questions that I didn't look at. Right. And he starts asking me these questions, and he's like, and you could tell he's reading them because he doesn't see well to begin with. So he's like, he's got to read the question. To this day, Tiffany, I don't know what I said. A friend was like, oh, you sounded great. I'm like, I have no idea.
I'm sure you did.
Right. I was like, I don't know. But it's funny because I've had guests like call me the whole week before, and they're, listen, I'm so nervous. I just want to know what you're going to say. I said, I'm going to talk to you about your story. You're going to tell your life story and what you're doing now. And these are people like probably 20 years my senior, like they're successful, whatever. And afterward, they're like, oh, that was great. We just talked about it. I'm like, yeah, because we're having like a normal conversation.
Exactly.
But it does take a while to like develop a style and to figure that stuff out. And
it does.
I had a problem with my sound. It was like, what was happening? Like, it was like, if I listen to my podcast versus a regular, like a professional podcast, let's call it, right? My sound was very low. Like, you had to turn it up, right? Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I couldn't figure it. So I went to these like podcast meetup groups. I'm meeting these sound guys. They're talking like it might as well have been Japanese. They're like, well, if you cut this, I'm like, dude, I am an attorney. Yeah. I don't know anything about the sound world. Assume that I'm like 4 years old, and they couldn't explain it to me. So I forget how I have this little program that's free that I drop the whole thing in, and it like levelizes the sound.
Yeah.
I forget how I didn't find it from the engineers though. They have to put it through some huge program with all kinds of equipment.
Yeah.
It's like a little piece of software, and I drop it on my desktop and it does it. I forget. I must have got a YouTube video about it.
Probably. It was probably like a YouTube video that figured it out. But there's so many. I was
complicating things too much.
You were complicating it. Yeah. And you were also probably trying to compare yourself to those people that were professionals that have been doing this for years and years and years, that have backgrounds in radio since the dawn of time.
I heard about it. It's called a sonic logo. They have the sound that you would associate.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but no, thank you. I'm not there yet. We're still learning as you go. And I have friends of mine who have worked in radio and do have very successful podcasts, and they're the same thing. They're like, I use Anchor. I use Audacity. I just use the basics.
They just know what to do, right? Yeah, you don't need all those features.
And they learned it as they went. It's not something that you need to have all the bells and whistles. You don't have to have everything perfect right off the bat. So if you want to start a podcast, get yourself a microphone, use Audacity to record and to edit maybe a little bit if you can want to play around with it, especially to teach yourself as you go. And go to Anchor or Google a different podcast hosting platform that might be free if you don't want to spend any money. There's some that are paid for too.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Think about the
and if people have advice for you, you should do this, you should do that. Don't let it over. I used to be like, oh my God, I got to do all those things. And it just fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't need especially somebody who knows sound, they're going to hear things like in your sound that most people don't hear.
Right.
The average person.
I got these big these editing headphones.
Yeah. These are like $20, $30. They're cheap.
These aren't that bad either. They were not that expensive, but honestly, I sometimes just use the regular headphones that I just plug into the computer and they work just as well.
Earbuds or something?
Yeah. You don't need anything. You don't need these big headphones to be able to edit.
When I have guests on, I tell them, listen, don't go out and buy a mic like a Blue Yeti and headphones because you're going to be on my podcast. Don't do that.
Right. Exactly.
Get your earbuds with a little microphone in it,
Exactly.
And it's fine.
And that's all you need too. If you're starting out, that's literally all you need. And then get the other stuff after the fact. Learn how to edit after the fact. Learn how to add sound in and add music and add all this other stuff in after the fact.
Right. Exactly.
But if anything, I think the most important thing, especially if anyone's out there, is kind of the same thing for social media as it is for podcasting. Focus on the content. Focus on what it is that you want to say and what it is that you want, the stories that you want to tell. Because your sound could be the best sound in the world. You could have the most expensive
crappy
equipment.
Stuff. Nobody's going to listen.
If it's boring, no one's going to want to listen.
Doesn't matter how good it sounds.
Exactly. So, but if you have something super interesting to say, the sound does not matter.
Right.
I mean, it does to a certain extent. It can't be inaudible, but if it's okay to listen to, people are going to listen regardless of how amazing the sound quality is. So,
absolutely.
The content I think is the most important thing.
I appreciate it. We're running out of time because I literally have a podcast at 11:30, and if I don't get off, it won't download fast enough.
You're good,
right? Because my computer's slow. But when's the second season of your podcast coming out?
Next week, actually, March 1st.
Okay, so by the time this episode's out, you will have already had some of the season out, so people can tune in. It'll probably be in May or something, or April.
Sounds good. Yeah. So it will be out there. You can listen to it now anywhere you get your podcast. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, go and find the Drinks After Work podcast.
Fantastic. So we'll put links in the show notes. Tiffany, I can't thank you enough. Can't wait to see you at the next
it's been so great.
Event that we have for the chamber.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's Friday, so have a very nice weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend. You too.
If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon Music, and many of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com. The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted and produced by me, Mitch Beinhacker. If you'd like more information about my legal services, you can find me on social media or visit my website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.